as the project was done during her father's term.
Hindi na ako magtataka kung lahat ng ginawa o lahat ng ginagawa ni dating Pangulong Duterte ay imbestigahan ng administrasyon ngayon. At hindi na rin tayo magtataka kung lahat noong mga nangyayari ay sasabihin nila na kaparte yan ng war on drugs at kasalanan yan ni President Duterte.
Classes were also disrupted for a week in flood-stricken areas. Malacanang approved the Interior Department's request to announce class and government work suspensions to streamline information.
So that the dissemination of information is better. That is very simple. Which website do you consult? Where do you... So pagka ganito, basta't sinabi na, the SILG will make the announcement. Wala nang fake news, yun na yung katotohanan, yun na yung totoo.
But Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla drew flack for his style, using slang like chipog and bangers in government announcements. Critics, including the Vice President, called it inappropriate and insensitive.
Tulad lang din yan noong sa Office of the Vice President. Merong Vice President at merong Office of the Vice President. Iba yung institusyon, iba yung tao.
Yes.
Okay? Kaya kami merong spokesperson for the Office of the Vice President kasi yung institusyon, meron silang mga ginagawa na trabaho, may projects, may servisyo, at merong boses yung Office of the Vice President. Pero pagdating naman sa Vice President, ako yung tao, iba din yung boses ko. So, kung galing yan sa DILG official account, they have to be professional. The person can express, has the freedom of expression. An institution does not have the freedom of expression.
Remulla refuses to apologize. President Marcos, meanwhile, sees no problem.
Hindi ko alam kung talaga sa form o sa substance. So, ako noon pa man, gano'n na ako. Kapitito lang gano'n na ako. Ngayon, secretary ko, may pa ba ako magbabago? Ang intensyon ko na naman ay mag-inform ang substance information. Ang style ko lang, kung di nila masakyan, intindi nila yung form ko ano talaga ang intention ko na gusto mangyari. Pasensya na, hindi na talaga ako magbabago, gano'n ako talaga ako. I'm sorry if I offend, but there is a way of information na pwedeng gawin naman. And I don't think I have to apologize for my humor or too much of it. What I do have to ask people is to understand what I'm saying na talagang ito yung kailangan natin gawin. Tama naman ang pag-suspend namin ng klase. Na importante. Kung hindi na kaya sakyan ng jokes ko, di karoon kayo mga barkada na hindi mo kaya sakyan. Huwag mo na sakyan, hindi mo lang siya sabi.
People criticize me for the way I speak, but that's the way I speak. That's the way he speaks. As long as he gets the message across, that's what it's for. That's what all of these postings are for. He gets some information across, and as long as he achieves that, then he manages to do what he sets out to do. I'm not exactly a judge of. How do you say, literary style? I don't know how you want to put it. So that's really, I would consider that out of my purview.
All these unfolded while the country's top two leaders were abroad. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. went on a 3-day official visit to the U.S., talking defense and trade with top American officials. He met with U.S. State Secretary Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and key business leaders. Marcos says Manila and Washington's alliance is key to peace in the Indo-Pacific region.
That forms a very, very important part of that relationship. And again, it is a proper response considering the challenges that we face in the Philippines specifically, vis-a-vis the changing geopolitical forces and the political developments around our part of the world.
We do not seek confrontation, but we are and will be ready and resolute. We're proud to support our mutual economic vitality, including your efforts to modernize your armed forces and collective defense. We're also deploying new cutting-edge missiles and unnamed unmanned systems, and revitalizing our defense industrial base. Together, we must forge a strong shield of real deterrence for peace, ensuring the long-term security and prosperity for our nations.
Marcos capped his trip with a historic Oval Office meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump, becoming the first Southeast Asian leader to meet the American leaders since his re-election. One big issue: tariffs. Washington recently raised tariffs on Philippine goods to 20%, but after negotiations, only a 1% cut was secured. And in return, Manila agreed to zero tariffs on some U.S. products, including cars, and vowed to increase American imports. Marcos denies this was a lopsided deal.
Now, 1% might seem like a very small concession. However, when you put it in real terms, it is a significant achievement. The major areas that he said were automobiles, because we have a tariff on American automobiles. We will open that market and no longer charge tariffs on that. So there's several. But also the other side of that is an increased importation from the United States for soy products, wheat products, and pharma, actually, medicines, para makamura naman yung maging mas mura yung gamot natin.
But lawmakers and groups aren't buying it, calling the outcome of trade talks a blow to Philippine interests.
Nakakahiya na nagpunta siya sa US sa pag-asa na magkakaroon ng mas magandang trade deal with President Trump. Pero ang nakuha dito ay 90% tariff. Talagang, disastrous ang trade talks na ito. Tagibang, labang na labang ang US dahil yung US naman nakakuha ng zero tariffs. Siyempre, mabigat na tatamaan dito yung manufacturing and agricultural sectors natin.
It was really shocking. Any person can make that observation that the deal is really bad for the Philippines, most humiliating, most unfair. It's also clear that we are bargaining from a weak position, all the more made weak because of a very poor negotiating strategy. It's obvious that the deal is very embarrassing for us.
Trump, however, praised Marcos's negotiation skills and took a swipe at the previous Philippine administration.
He's a very tough negotiator. So far, we're not there because he's negotiating too tough. In fact, I used to like him better than I do now. He's too tough. They're a very important nation militarily, and we've had some great drills lately. We're back with them. I think I can say that the last administration was not getting along with them too well. They didn't get along with anybody. They didn't know. Honestly, they didn't know what they were doing. But we have some fantastic military relationships with the Philippines, and that's been reinstituted.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte had pivoted away from the U.S. in favor of closer ties with China, especially after Washington criticized his bloody war on drugs. Duterte even threatened to scrap the two countries' mutual defense treaty. Fast forward to today, Marcos and Trump agreed to build a U.S.-funded ammunition hub in Subic. Formal proposals are still pending, but both say it will benefit both sides.
We're going to have all the speedy missiles. We'll have the speedy ones, the slow ones, the accurate ones, the ones that are slightly less accurate. We have everything. But we will have more ammunition than any country has ever had. It's very important to me.
This is actually the United States is assisting the Philippines in what we call our self-reliance defense program, which is to allow us to be self-reliant and to be able to stand our own 2 feet, whatever the circumstances that occur in the future. And the reason that we have encouraged more interaction with the United States is because it is necessary.
Despite this packed U.S. schedule, Mr. Marcos insists his government was on top of the flooding situation back home. Hours after returning to the country, Marcos held a situation briefing with concerned government agencies and visited an evacuation center in the flood-hit province of Rizal. He earlier proposed building large water impounding facilities outside Metro Manila to collect, store, and repurpose floodwaters. But VP Duterte wasn't impressed. She sarcastically suggested delivering floodwater to Malacanang for Marcos to drink. That didn't sit well with the